and it's blocked off by cones and now a cop car because for safety.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for an event organizer. I don't see anyone. So I go up to the cop and I'm like, hey, I got this leave pass. What should I do? Should you want me to come in here? He's like, wouldn't it be nice if somebody told us what like the plan was? And I was like,
Whoops.
yeah, I guess that
wow.
would. I said, but I don't see any event organizers. I said this. He's like, well, where'd you come in? I said, from here. He's like, well, you can try. I said, well, I'm kind of at the end of this other street, like dead end from this side street. Would it be cool if I just came up that way? He's like, you can do whatever you want. He's like, what are they gonna do? Call the cops?
Jeez.
I was like, I guess. He's like, all right, I'll see you. And so I went, got the car. I drove past you guys.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Shifting Tones, the podcast with nerdy tones and shifting formats. Today, I'm your host, Lorissa, and we'll be joined by my lovely co-stars, Sam.
Hey, what's up?
And Steph.
Hello, it's me.
All right, perfect. Thank you for introducing yourselves to our listeners.
Of course.
So what's been going on in the weekend? What did we do? Who wants to go first?
We didn't do anything this weekend. It was pretty much a dud. Oh, no, I'm kidding. We hung out with the good old Spiffy Steffi herself, her husband, and a couple listeners, a couple fans of the show, aka our friends.
We had once again, the official Shifting Tones meetup.
Our quarterly meetup, yep.
Sorry we didn't get the invite, other listeners. Maybe next time.
Yeah, maybe next time, yeah. Sorry, must have gotten lost in the mail. It's weird.
Yeah, sorry.
I'll let Steph, if you don't have much small talk, I'll let you talk about the actual weekend itself.
Yeah, that's fine. So you guys came down because you had an art show.
Sure did.
To participate. And that pretty much just led to, hey, let's have all of our friends gather at the house. So I think last time I kind of talked about changing out my office. I'm sure you can see this TV. I meant to move it off here. Oops.
It's all good.
It's all good.
I just realized it's in the background. But I'm in the process of like shifting around the room. Shifting? We're moving the rooms around and stuff. So eventually I'm kind of hoping that this might be the last episode I record in this room. I'm hoping
Steph's
to move.
Last episode?
No.
Clickbait title.
In this room. So I'm hoping that I can have my new office space done and ready to go by the next episode. So that'd be kind of fun. But it was a good excuse to kind of clean and get everything ready in the house because you guys are all coming down. We pretty much just chilled and hung out for quite a bit of the time, played a lot of card games. And then we also went to round 1, which was super cool.
Hell yeah, we did.
Yeah, so there was a lot of good things at round 1. And I won you guys a little frog, and then you won something I was trying to get forever. So it was really funny.
Well, trade, yeah.
Yeah, because we traded the things that we just couldn't get ourselves.
We won a lot this time.
We did. We struck
all
gold.
of us, yeah.
It's just fun playing the claw games. I just think I don't know. It's like more exciting to play the games and get stuff. Like, of course, getting the prizes is super fun, but I do like just playing the games too.
Absolutely.
Hopefully fiscally responsible than gambling at a casino.
It's not, but
So I said hopefully.
No.
Yeah, but that's all right. It's the fun. And then other than that, we went to just a really big grocery store that's in our area. That's kind of like a fun, tacky, weird one. So we did that for quite a bit. Yeah, so that was fun. Very eventful. I think we're all old because I think did we all just go to bed by midnight each night?
We did, yeah.
Because the first night, I think everybody was just tired from working, driving and working for the day beforehand. And we just hung out, had dinner, played cards. It was fun. I mean, it was definitely a good time, but everyone's like, I'm knocked out. I'm going to bed.
I'm pretty sure I went to bed at 12:30 and I'm like, oof, it's late.
Right. Well, and then Saturday was the day we did everything. And so I think that wiped people out. But I was like, oh, maybe people would want to stay up and watch a movie till 3 a.m. again. But everybody's an old fuddy-duddy now,
But we had to wake up early for Lorissa's show.
That's true.
The next day. So I think a lot of people were like, do I want to stay up and lose sleep or actually sleep and have that?
Right.
So. But other than that, it was really nice. This is my last week of school. It's going well. So
Steph's last week on the podcast?
Oh my God. No. So yeah, this will be the last week of school. By the time the episode comes out, I only have one more day. It'll be the last day of school, which is super exciting. My school is also, I don't know if I told you, but there's that potential trip for Tucson.
That's
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if it's happening or not. Like, I keep getting mixed signals from the higher ups. And so
That
at
sucks.
first they told us it's not happening. And then today, at the end of the day, they were like, it's maybe happening. And I'm like,
maybe it's
okay,
hopeful.
I don't know. So we're still trying to see if that's going to happen. So
I was supposed to take a trip to Iceland in college.
That's true.
I took a class on glaciers, which is called Glaciers and Glaciation. And I was like one of 2 or 3 kids that signed up, and we needed like a minimum of 5 to be able to do the trip. Yeah, so it sucked.
So other than that, that's pretty much my small talk.
Nice.
Whoever would like to jump on next can do so.
I'm jumping. Call me Little Frog Boy. Speaking of Little Frog Boy, look what I got at the art show. Look at this little guy. He's ready to fight.
Yeah, he is ready to fight.
Listeners, it's a little hand sculpted, like glazed over clay frog thing that's he's got his dukes up and he's ready to take on action at any time. I also got a little rat. It's right there. You can't really see. It's a little chubby guy.
See
the
it.
little gray
circular gray
corner.
rat. Yeah. Okay, for my small talk, I got 2 small talk pieces, 2 controversial corner pieces. So small talk pieces. Number 1, I did create a top 25 anime intro list.
Interesting.
So I'm just going to give you a couple in no particular order just to tell you what's on there. So, of course, we got Naruto.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Specifically
is
Bluebird.
Is this a future episode?
It could be.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if you want it to be. I was just telling you I put my top 25 together.
Oh, okay.
Bang Bang on for Mashal. The
It's pretty
bing
good.
bum bum bing bum, that one. And then Dan, of course.
Naturally.
That's a very fun intro. And a couple others.
This is the same artist that did those 2.
That's true. That is true.
Okay.
So the event this weekend, Larissa's art show. So at the very end, you guys had headed out and we had to find somebody. Normally with Larissa's art shows, let me back up a little bit, is you just at the end of the day, say it goes till 5 o'clock, you can start tearing down at 5. And once you're all torn down, as long as it's safe to bring your car in, you can start bringing your car in. And they're usually pretty cool about it. Pretty straightforward. Well, this one, you had to tear everything down and then flag somebody down that works with the event staff and get the approval that your place is all cleaned up, ready to go, so you don't start bringing your car in early. So I found somebody right away, and she's like, "You're done already?" And I was like, yeah. She's like, "Oh my gosh, that's like the fastest I think we've ever had someone tear down before."
That's crazy.
I was like, it was just art prints and like stickers and buttons, so pretty quick. She's like, yeah. She's like, new record. So you definitely win a prize. And I was like, oh, what's the prize? She's like, you get to leave first. And I was like, oh, okay. I said, no, like VIP access next year, like, complimentary parking fees, So anyways, I had my event tickets, this big, like neon yellow sticker that just said like leave pass, essentially.
I remember seeing it when you guys when we said bye.
And so after you guys had walked away, I'm walking on the sidewalk behind everybody packing up. And no kidding, like 4 or 5 people are like, "You got a leave pass? How did you get a leave pass? Why are you so special?" Like very upset with me. Like, how did you get this? And I was just
maybe
like, we tore down
more
fast.
Friends like us to help out.
That's right. And then so I get to the end where we pulled in originally at the end of the main street, and it's blocked off by cones and now a cop car because for safety.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for an event organizer. I don't see anyone. So I go up to the cop and I'm like, "Hey, I got this leave pass. What should I do? Should you want me to come in here?" He's like, "Wouldn't it be nice if somebody told us what like the plan was?" And I was like,
"Whoops.
Yeah, I guess that would." I said, "But I don't see any event organizers." I said this. He's like, "Well, where'd you come in?" I said, "From here." He's like, well, you can try." I said, "Well, I'm kind of at the end of this other street, like dead end from this side street. Would it be cool if I just came up that way?" He's like, "Yeah, you can do whatever you want." He's like, "What are they going to do? Call the cops?"
Jeez.
I was like, "I guess." He's like, "All right, I'll see you." And so I went, got the car. I drove past you guys as you guys were heading out. I don't know if you saw me.
No, I didn't see you.
I waved a little bit because I was like, "Oh, that's them." Came up, had to move some cones out of the way, but then pulled up the car, packed up, and left. And it was stupid quick. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I think you guys had that lucky spot because you're right at the dead end
Super
of
lucky.
an extra street. So
yeah. So that's Sam's small talk. Now time for the controversial corner 2025.
Dun, 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 dun.
Okay. Number 1 of 2. I don't think there's anything wrong with skip lagging.
Skip
I don't
lagging?
know what that is.
Well, you guys should. Skip lagging is when you say you book a flight from New York to Hawaii.
I see what you're saying.
but you actually want to go to California. But all the direct flights from New York to California are way too expensive, bad times or whatever. However, because you booked a flight that was cheaper and better to Hawaii, there's actually a layover in California. Skip lagging is getting off that layover and leaving the airport and not continuing your flight. Now, the reason it's negative or seen as negative is because sometimes when they're boarding the plane to take off, they have to do roll call and they're like, okay, where this passenger at? Where are these passengers at? Like, did we lose them? And also, if you have checked bags, because now your luggage is in Hawaii. But if you just do a carry-on, I don't see the big problem in it. Like, one, I'm not on a plane, so I'm cutting back on emissions. Two, I got to my destination quicker and cheaper. And three, I mean, it's a multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar company. What do they care if I skip? I already gave them my money. I paid for the flight.
I just feel like the only negative I can see is just it's taking away from someone who's looking for that flight at that certain day because you had already purchased a seat when in reality you didn't need it or something.
True, but I was also looking for a flight to California, and those are all expensive and booked up, maybe. I don't know. I totally get your reasoning. I think that's why it's a little controversial, because I think some people are like, ethically, it's maybe not the best, but at the same time, I don't know. Apparently, some airlines, like if you do it once, they'll just like blacklist you.
Yep.
Some airlines are like, okay, do it a few times. Like we're gonna like start charging you more or delaying your flight. Like they're gonna mess with you essentially. So
they can tell, because usually when people miss a flight or a layover, there's a reason and they're trying to get in contact, with the agencies. So it's like, usually you're reaching out or sending messages, or you come when you can to try and resolve the issue of like, I missed my flight, help me. So like, I could definitely see your name just being flagged right away.
I think if you lied to them, like if they did reach out and you gave them a pretty good excuse, like, oh, like I wish I could have gone, but I had something come up last week, so I actually have to just take the next flight back, and this was my best option instead of flying all the way to Hawaii, or I don't know.
Yeah.
And then don't do it all the time. Maybe like once every few years.
That's true.
Okay, that's not legal advice. Shifting Tones does not give out legal advice. And number 2 for my controversial corner, all light beer is the same and it's not that good. So that's going to hit a lot of just generic bros out there. Bud Light, Coors Light, Miller Light. I'm trying to think of some of the other big light beers,
No, I get you.
I don't know. There's tons of them and they're all the same beer. And people are like, oh, let me rank all the light beers. I'm like, you don't have to. They're not good.
What?
They can all rank at the bottom.
I disagree. It's the only
try
type
a
of
real
beer
beer.
I like.
Try Pabst Blue Ribbon, okay? An American beer. No, there's tons of great beers out there, and you don't have to be like a beer head and be like, oh, I'm only into double IPAs or like nitro chocolate milk stouts or something. I don't know, but I don't know. Maybe expand your horizons, because light beers aren't that good. I think people convince themselves they're good because they're the cheap beer.
I disagree heavily.
Well, then it's a controversial opinion.
Oh.
And I'm done.
All right, fair enough.
End scene.
So you guys pretty much summed up all of our weekend activities very well. The only other thing I wanted to add from my art show experience was, oh boy, howdy, the cuts to NOAA, aka our weather agency from the government, are really hitting hard, because the temperature was supposed to only go up to 72 degrees. And I was like, it's feeling a little extra mighty warm for 72 degrees. And so when we left, the car was saying, and this was like after a few miles, the car was cooled down. It wasn't misreading the temperature. It was 82 degrees. And I was like, oh,
yeah,
that makes a lot more sense now. It also explains why I feel sunburned and a little sweaty. So
hey,
hopefully,
in Steph's defense, you refused the suntan lotion or the sunscreen,
I
whatever.
Sunscreen. I was like, hey, if you want some, I got some in my purse.
As you can tell, I only naturally tan. Look at this.
Oh yeah, so tasty.
It's glowing white. Stop.
I got sunburn on my shoulders. It'll probably show still. Maybe
just
not
a little bit where you didn't put the lotion on before, right on your tattoo.
I covered my tattoos because I don't want those to ever fade. So
of course, yeah.
Naturally.
Smart.
So as I was saying, hopefully the government one day gets its act together and we can have accurate weather predicting again, because today we're putting up an awning over our little porch that we've been hoping to do for quite a while now, and it said it wasn't supposed to rain at all until 7 o'clock today, and that was a lie.
Oh.
So
yeah.
It's been raining
Right when I went to
all
go.
day.
Right?
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
For
okay. No, we
us.
just got a little bit of
A little
drizzling
drizzle.
right when, of course, I wanted to go out and start putting it
Right.
up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We
No.
I was gonna say, when you guys came down over the weekend too, we had that like crazy storm
That's
roll in,
true.
Crazy
and it was
storm.
like hailing, and I was
Mhm.
like, we were playing cards next to this big window that we have, and I was like, is this okay? There's a lot of lightning, but I was like, as long as we don't hear any tornado sirens, I think we'll be okay.
We'll be fine, yeah.
Yeah.
Talking about that, I remember our other friend who was driving down on the way through the storm. We were a little worried about them. They ended up showing us a picture of what the sky looked like. And she's like, to her partner she was driving with, look, the sky's green. And she took a picture of it. And all good Midwesterners know that that's the early indication for a tornado. Thank God it didn't happen. But just seeing that picture, I was like,
all good Midwesterners know Steph. Duh.
They sure do.
I didn't know that the sky turns green.
It does turn green.
What is that from?
I don't know. It's just like a weather phenomenon. Like it turns green.
A green sky during a storm, often seen with intense thunderstorms, suggests large amounts of water and ice crystals within the clouds. Green tint is a result of sunlight interacting with these particles, scattering the shorter wavelengths. While not guaranteeing of a tornado, it's a strong indicator.
Absolutely. So, and then if you start seeing the clouds to form a little baby circle, that's when you should go to your basement. So, I did not.
If you're not a wimp.
That's fair. I mean, go storm chase if you want to. It's not
Just
my
kidding,
life.
Don't do that. Shifting Tones does not give out weather advice.
No, please do not chase storms. But talking about that, maybe if you're a bit of a more bold person, you might be interested in storm chasing. And so today we're bringing up a little old segment that I love. Last time we did the Myers-Briggs personality assessments, and I
remember that.
Yeah, direct feedback from some of the listeners that they absolutely adored it. So I was like, let's bring back another test, but a little different. And it's known as the Enneagram Test.
Tell us, what is the Enneagram Test?
I've never heard this one before in my life.
No, absolutely. And so, listeners, right now, I'm going to be switching to our screen here to give you a little bit of a presentation on what the Enneagram types are. So let me share my screen.
Oh no, Lorissa's the teacher.
Pretty much.
School's in session.
All right. And so as you can see, I have zoomed in on my tab here. I'm not going to read the full thing. I'm not a boring professor today, but there are 9 types of personalities. Technically, the assessment today we're going to be taking is a little bit of a different flavor. They like to call it the Enneastar. I think it's the same thing, and they just wanted to make up their own selves a little different, but it's the Enneagram test. And so, as you can see, there's 9 different personalities. You can be a helper, an optimist, a skeptic, perfectionist, individualist, observer, doer, fighter, and mediator. And
I think, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think before we start, I think we should all try to guess what we're going to be
interesting.
Before the test.
Okay. And so for some people who are familiar with the Enneagram test, you don't really go by the title of perfectionist or individualist. A lot of the times you hear people say a number. And so that's what you see here in the other right-hand column is like type 2, type 7. So a lot of people will say, I'm a 7 or I'm an 8. So if you ever hear that, now you know what that means. Unfortunately, this test isn't long enough to give you a wing. A wing is basically like a sub-personality where if you're in between 2 of them, it'll give you a wing. So maybe you're a 2-wing 7. You would be a helper, an optimistic helper.
It just sounds funny. Like
it is.
I need to extend my personality out.
A part of me wishes they would have really put that in numerical order.
I do too.
Or alphabetical order. One of the two. Why is it? It's in no order whatsoever.
I don't know. This is the website. They decided to do it that way. And I can't tell you everything on the top of my head. And that's basically it. It's all bunk science, unfortunately. If you love Enneagram and it helps you, good. Please keep letting it help you. There's nothing wrong with that. If it lets you develop your own identity and it helps you through therapy, absolutely no problem. But this is what we call pop psychology. It has no basis in any real science, but it's fun to do.
Yeah.
All right. So do you guys vaguely understand what the Enneagram is? I think the titles are pretty self-explanatory. Yeah. Very similar to the Myers-Briggs, but instead of letters, you're getting numbers.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. And so earlier I sent you to the link to the test. And so we're going to go through each question and talk it through, and we'll share our results at the end. Does that sound
Okay.
good?
Wait. I want to guess before
Oh, that's right. Thank you.
you're getting ahead of yourself.
I am getting ahead of myself.
I think Lorissa should go first because this
Oh.
is her episode.
Yes,
and she's
Lorissa,
the
what do you
host.
think you are, and then what do you think we might be?
Sure. So I'm a bit of an anxious person. So I believe I probably will most likely will be a perfectionist. So a type 1. I believe I took this test before like 5 or 6 years ago. And I believe I was like a type 6 wing 9. And like I said, I don't think this test will give us our wing, but that
Sorry.
is, yeah.
You just said a funny number, so
I sure
I had to. Sorry. Keep going.
No, you're good. And so a type 6 for our listeners, a skeptic, and a Enneagram type 9 would be a mediator. So a skeptical mediator. Is that was the result I previously got 5 years ago, but I've changed a lot since then.
Yes, you have. Okay. I'll go next, Steph.
Okay.
Because I can. I think. Oh wait, no. What do you think we are?
Oh,
Lorissa?
true, absolutely. So I think my dear old Sam will probably get a optimist. So maybe a type 7. You're very cheerful. You know, you like to see the glass half full. You're always telling me to look at things in a more positive direction. So maybe that's what you are.
Okay.
And
what about Steph?
For Steph, let's see. I think she'll be a type 2. She's a helper, you
Diabetes?
know. Sorry, not that type.
Not that type.
Yeah. You know, teachers,
Okay.
I feel like they have helper energy to their core.
That's fair.
enough. Okay. I think I would probably put myself, like you said, probably optimist or doer.
Okay.
And I only say doer because I do a lot of projects.
You sure do.
I don't like them, but I do them. I think Lorissa, you're probably going to be perfectionist or mediator. And then Steph, you're going to be, I'm thinking Steph's going to be an individualist.
Interesting.
Or helper.
Okay.
I'm thinking individuals. When I think of Steph, I think like can do anything on her own, can travel the world like you did when you studied abroad, or like you do your trips, whatever. You like to get things done by yourself. Larissa, you are kind of that perfectionist where you want to do interior design all the time, make sure everything's just right and your house is perfect and all this stuff, but not in a bad way.
No.
So I think that's where I place you guys.
Okay.
I was going to say individualist for myself is what I was thinking. That's kind of where I was leaning on. So Sam
let's go.
Kind of got that right. I could definitely see, I think, Lorissa as perfectionist, but also a little bit maybe, like skeptic in there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Skeptic, yeah.
I'm very critical of things. I love to analyze things, so that would not surprise me.
So, and then Sam, I definitely think I could see optimist, yes, but like you said, I could also see doer, a little bit of that.
Not fighter and observer.
Oh.
I observe and then I fight.
No, you're not lasting in a gorilla fight. I know
that's true. I'd help the gorilla. I'd stay behind him, be like, "Hey man, whatever you need a back rub, you need a water break, I got you."
You're just his water boy.
That's right. If it keeps me alive, absolutely. Harambe died for nothing.
No. Rest in peace,
Harambe. I would have
Harambe.
protected him. I would have taken that bullet for him.
All right. So after our predictions, you guys ready to go in and start taking that test?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Listeners, you can see that our first question. Can't. That's fair. The listeners can't see.
Listeners, as you can see with your ears.
Watchers, you can see our first question is now on the screen for you. Listeners, I'll read you the question, and then, like I said, we'll discuss amongst each other what we think best applies to all of us. So I'm going to read the question now, and we'll go forward. So it says, I approach new people, and I like to relax in the community of groups. So worded a little weird, but I think you could understand the gist of what it's trying to say.
Yeah.
And the options are almost always applies to me, sometimes applies to me, doesn't often apply to me, or never applies to me. All right. And I think we'll go in turns, a little bit of a roundabouts. And then if you want to pop in, we can do that. But Sam, which option feels like it feels most applicable to you?
At first I was gonna say almost always applies to me
Okay.
because I am very personable and I do like meeting new people and I feel like I can fit into a group pretty quickly. But I don't approach new people. Like I don't go
Oh,
up to random
okay.
people on the street or
Mm-hmm.
like if it's I don't know. I guess if I was like put in the setting to, I would like if I had to acclimate with another group, I would definitely approach those people
Okay.
and be like fine in the group. But
Sure.
that's why I think I'm more on the sometimes applies to me.
All right, that sounds pretty accurate to me. I think I've noticed that sometimes you're a little bit more of a homebody when you're like, you know what, it's the weekends, but I don't feel like hanging out. I don't want to be around these people I don't know. Don't want to put
It
that mask
depends.
on. But yeah, like you said, sometimes it depends on the weekend. I think that's right. Steph, what do you think? Which one
I
feels
was
right?
gonna say probably doesn't often apply to me because it's still
Oh,
like it applies, but
mm-hmm.
not often. Because
Okay.
I'm not gonna be so real, I just don't go out much. So
That's
like
fair.
as of recent, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
had this been college, I definitely would have been like way more out there, but I'm not around people often. So
That's fair.
I'm gonna say doesn't often apply to me.
Okay. All right. And so for me, I think I'm also going to pick doesn't often apply to me. And like Sam, I don't approach new people unless I'm in a setting where I kind of have to force myself to, especially since we're in the season now of baby showers. There's a lot of people that are invited where I'm like, I have no idea who you are, but I'm going to go and say hi to you if we're at the same
That,
table and we'll be best friends for 1 hour.
that's how you were at all the weddings too, because I was in a lot of
Exactly.
like the wedding parties because it was like
Mm-hmm.
guy friends from childhood or
Mm-hmm.
grade school that you had become friends with, after we started dating, and
Yeah.
they're like, all right, we're gonna put you at the friend table, just
Right.
the other
Mhm.
table.
Yeah, that I have no idea who their friends are because this new friend is kind of new to me still already. So yes,
Right.
I think I'll go with doesn't often apply to me. And so listeners and watchers, the Sam and Steph have their own window
Yes.
up that you are not going to be able to see on the screen. I'm going to be answering on this one, just so you are aware. All right, question number 2. I also invest in my efforts into things that others dismiss as unimportant details or creative affections.
Okay, I'm
Again,
gonna have
again,
to read that again.
yeah, I
Yeah.
know. All right. So I also invest my efforts into things that others dismiss as unimportant details or creative affectations. So maybe like things that are not quite as important, you like to focus on those more than what you probably should do, especially in like a time frame in like a work setting. Does that make sense?
Like little autistic hobbies. Like and
No,
I mean that in the
I
nicest way possible. I'm just saying like I don't know, like hey, I like to specifically play Balatro. Like I play a lot of Balatro on my phone.
Sure.
And it's like, okay, I like to invest my efforts into
Mm-hmm.
that. And people are like, that's stupid. Why would you like spend an hour playing that game? And I'm like, well, because it's fun.
Sure. I think it's a little bit more like if I were to play the game of Sins, most people play it for like about an hour or two, and they're like, okay, this is fun. But when I play The Sims, I'm playing it for 12 hours trying to get the perfect couch with the rug. And I think that is
Gotcha.
much more what this question is trying to get into. Does that make sense to
Okay.
you, Steph?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it more as like you focus on things that other people wouldn't focus on
Yeah,
as much.
exactly. Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is weird. I almost wish there was something in between. Sometimes applies and doesn't often
Sorry.
apply. And I know that doesn't make sense because it's one of the two, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like as far as when I'm out in public or just in nature or something like that, I do focus on like smaller things sometimes. But I don't know if I'm in a new country, or I'm like always drawn towards probably the touristy things in general because that's what's popular. Like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna visit, China. I want to go to the Great Wall of China.
Sure.
I don't know if that's what this is, or if this is more like individual hobbies. Like I said, man, I'm gonna say doesn't often apply to me.
Okay, I think that's fair. I think you're more regular of a person where you're like, especially with how you play Minecraft, you're like, I did the thing. I don't need to like spend the rest of my life trying to make the perfect castle. And I think, yeah, that's probably true to you.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I
I dig and then I mine and then I craft and I'm done.
Yep.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna say sometimes applies to me.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
think
that's
there's
fair.
some things I will just focus on, and then and other people may just be like, oh, you can just kind of go faster, skip over it. But I'm like, no, I need to kind of get to? I don't know. It's hard.
Mhm.
It's a really weird question.
It
Yeah,
is.
like you pay closer attention to details, maybe.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's kind of how I feel with that.
Okay.
Yeah, because I also like to think this question is saying that, like, hey, if you think of yourself as a hard worker, you're like, hey, I got the project done. This I feel like would apply to someone who takes it like 3 steps above and beyond in
Oh
order
no,
to
see,
make
I'm
sure
trying to
it's
get somebody else to
perfect.
do the project for me.
Exactly. And so, I labeled myself a perfectionist earlier in this podcast episode. So I'm going to say almost always applies to me because I'm a little bit neurotic, especially when I'm shopping on Amazon. Most people, they're like, oh, the first 2 pages, I got it. No, I need to look through like 10 and then like search a different option with different keywords to see if I
Yeah,
can get
no,
more
that's-
things to pop up.
Absolutely.
No, that's crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah, like we were looking at awnings the other day, speaking of awning, and I was like, okay, well, we've gone through all the options here. They're like the 3 that we liked. Can we go through it 12 more times?
Exactly.
Sure.
I need
I
to
don't
know
mind.
for sure that it was
Mm.
right. Some may call that OCD. We have no idea. I'm not officially diagnosed with that yet, but we're still working
Not
on a
yet.
diagnosis. So while we were discussing that, I went on to our next question, and it says, I often tend to go with my gut feeling and trust my sense of intuition. And then the same options as before. Almost always, sometimes, doesn't apply to me or never applies to me.
Steph, go first.
Yeah.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, almost always. I feel like I always go with my
Okay.
gut and trust my sense. Yeah, that's just like you gotta go with your gut. That's why it's an expression. It's common.
Survival instinct, yeah.
Exactly. So that's an almost always for me.
Fair enough.
I'm gonna say I again want to say almost always applies to me, but a lot of times I'm just like, oh, maybe like take a step back and like think about this. Like I don't just
A little bit of the
like
doubt
rush
creeps
in.
in.
Yeah, a little bit. But I
I'm
whenever I talk to
don't think, just do.
well, that's kind of how Larissa is too, because a lot of times, well, it's like it's hit or miss with that.
Yeah.
Because if I'm like, Larissa, what do you think? She's like, I trust my gut always, and I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about this. Let's think this out. Be a little rational for a
I
second.
guess it depends on what it is. A lot of the times I liked to over critically think to the point where like I've developed almost a subconscious level of knowledge on a topic. And then at that point I'm able to trust my own instincts. So
I'm gonna say sometimes applies to me.
okay, all right. You like to like research and fact check everything before you sign on the dotted line?
Yes and no. I mean,
Okay.
obviously, if I'm like signing something,
Mm-hmm.
yes. Like 9 times out of 10, unless it's like an update to my phone, I'm like, yeah, whatever. They want my information, they got
Sure.
it. But I don't know, something like getting a new car. Like my gut would be like, yeah, go with like the safe, reliable, like safe option. I'm like, but I kind of want to test drive other things, and if I see something I actually like, I don't know, maybe I'll like weigh the two and do a pros and cons list. So
Yeah, you're like in the car test driving it and you're like, car go vroom vroom and it feels cool, so I'm gonna go with this car.
That's
Car do
literally
go
how
vroom
I
vroom.
was. I only saw one car and I was like, that's it. And so I used it.
I test drove like 4 or 5 cars and they all broke down at some
That's
point while test
crazy.
driving.
That's so
yeah.
true. I test drove like a lot of cars on the lot, went to different places, and one of your uncles worked at one of the places and let me test drive it for a week and was still not sure about it, and then ended up going with a different
Jeez.
car.
Yeah, she trusted her gut, but
So then, Larissa, what are you putting?
Say sometimes applies to me because at the end of the day, I'm still going off of my gut feeling, even if I'm neurotically researching everything down to the final detail.
that's fair.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not answering these right. Like part of me is like,
I think that you're good.
I'm failing this test somehow.
No, I don't think so.
They all feel like that often.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Question number 4. I like assuming leading role in teams. In doing so, I adhere to guidelines and usual standards as far as possible. And then the same options as before.
Hmm.
I'll go first this time. We'll switch it up a little bit. See, my self, I'm trying to think of a better word than this, but I'm going to go for it. My self-flagellating self.
That means
It's
to
like-
fart.
Flagellating?
Flatulating.
No. I'm saying a different word.
Flattering?
Flagellating. It's Flaggering.
I've never heard that word in
I've
my
It's
life.
never
putting
heard it.
yourself down.
Okay.
I just try to figure out a
I
different
trust
way
you. I
saying
trust
it.
your gut on this one.
Yes, absolutely. would like to say, no, I could never be a leader. Like, but if I'm thrown into a situation where I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, I don't know what to do, and we're given a task and no one's stepping up to the role, I'll step up to the role because I just want to get the task done. I really want to make sure it's done to the best it possibly can be. So I don't want to assume I'm going to be in that leadership role, but because in practice I often have been in that role, I typically am. So it's kind of hard to say like, oh, I'm overly confident. I'm like the dictator.
But this one also says like, I like assuming the role. Remember
That's
that
true.
too.
That's
it
true.
says I like it.
I don't know. I kind of like it,
because
and I kind of don't.
I feel like when you're at like an event and like we're setting up or tearing down, you kind of take charge and just say like, okay, here's what we're gonna do, because like a lot of people are just kind of like frazzled and stuff like that.
Yeah, which is fine.
But I would say like in other settings, like any other group setting or other team setting, you don't want to like step up and have that pressure on you.
Yeah, unless I absolutely have to. And then I usually stick to the guidelines to make sure that it's done correctly. So I guess it's kind of hard. I'm going to say sometimes applies to me just because of experience. And I do kind of like that sense of control at that point, because if no one's doing anything, I feel like I'm completely out of control of the situation. I definitely don't like that situation.
I'm going to go next. I'm going to say sometimes apply to me as well, because there's a lot of time, like I like it because I can get things done quickly. A lot of this I'm thinking of is just with my job and those dumb like teacher meetings.
Absolutely.
So it's just kind of like, okay. Because a lot of times I'll volunteer myself to like speak if they have like the dumb little groups, like get together with groups and come up with an answer and then we're going to share it. I'm usually the ones that'll be like, I don't care. I'll say whatever we talked about. Because I want to get it done. Like, let's go. Like, we're wasting time here. So I'd say sometimes applies to me.
Okay.
This is tough for me because I do like taking a leading role like in teams. Like I like kind of having that responsibility and that pressure to lead a team and to like, you know, just take the reins on something. But adhering to guidelines and standards as far as possible, I don't know if that really applies to me. Like, because I do, but also like if it can be done more efficiently or easy or something like that, and it doesn't adhere to the guidelines, and I don't want to follow that.
That's true.
So I think I'm also going to go with sometimes applies to me.
I think that's fair. Yeah, you like to find a shortcut. Because I would say like
yeah, absolutely. But like not in a, hey, I'm taking a shortcut because I'm lazy. I'm taking a shortcut because I think there's a better way to do this.
No, that makes perfect sense. All right. I think we're all saying the same answer here, which is interesting because we all kind of gave different reasons behind it.
Absolutely.
All right. Question number 5. I don't want to take on a leadership role, but I adhere to guidelines and usual standards as far as possible.
What the heck? It's the exact same thing, but it says...
Yeah, a little bit tweaked.
No, because the last question also said I adhere to guidelines as in usual standards as far as possible.
It's just, exactly. It's either it says I like leadership role or I don't want leadership role. So
now this one's I'm going to say doesn't often apply to me because the part of it I like was the leadership role, but I don't really adhere to the guidelines. So in this case, it's actually probably almost never applies to me because not only do I have to follow the guidelines and the standards, but now I'm not in a leadership role. Okay. So the only time I would take on those guidelines and standards if I was in the leadership role. So I'm going to say never applies to me.
I'm going to say doesn't often apply to me.
That's fair. This is kind of the sign of a good test because this is like a redundant question. It's what we try to do as sociologists and psychologists to make sure that you're actually answering and not trying to like make yourself look better. It gets to the truth of what your personality actually is, or if you have an actual answer.
Right.
So I'm going to say almost always applies to me. And I think that's self-explanatory based off of our last discussion.
We all had different answers on this one, but the same on the last one. So that's really interesting.
Yeah. All right. So question number 6. I lead the way for others by pursuing my own ideas. I tend to adopt a creative attitudes towards guidelines and standards. Ooh, Sam, this sounds right up your alley.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I was trying to say earlier. I didn't know this was going to be in a question format. So I'm just going to get it out of the way quickly. I'm going to say almost always applies to me.
Yeah, that's perfect.
That was the same thing I was going to say for me because like sometimes I just like have a better way of doing it. And I'm like, yeah, this makes more sense. Yeah, I just feel like almost always. That's why I'm going to click.
Okay, Fair enough. And so I think I'm going to go with sometimes applies to me because I really want to make sure everyone feels like their opinion has been heard. And I like to make sure, even if I think their ideas are a little, I don't say dumb, but not what I would go with, I want to make sure that we incorporate the diverse opinions of everyone in that group. So I'd like to listen to everyone before I even give my own opinion. So I guess that would negate the first part of the question.
Yeah,
So
that's fair.
yeah, so I'm going to say doesn't often apply to me.
Okay.
All right, question number 7. Decision-making question. Oh, this is a different type of question, I gather.
Okay.
And it says, which attitude corresponds most closely to you? So our options are new now. It says, I approach new people and I like to relax in the community of groups. Option 2, I also invest my efforts into things that others dismiss as unimportant details or creative affectations. And option number 3, I often tend to go with my gut feeling and trust my sense of intuition.
These are the first 3 questions.
Yeah, these are the first 3 questions. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So which one do you closely align yourself with out of all those?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
All of these, I'm going to go first because I already know. It's my
Okay.
gut feeling and my,
Yay,
my sense.
that's right.
Trust your gut.
Yeah, I was going with my gut, and I'm going to go with my gut on this answer. So
okay,
that's
which
the one I'm choosing. The third one. I often tend to go with my gut feeling.
Just read, Lorissa.
That's
Use your
true.
brain.
See, I need to read it 5 more times to make sure that I read it correctly.
I'm going to go with the top one because I think it's out of all these. I approach new people and like to relax in the community groups. I think that's the one out of the 3 of these that I probably had the most closely tied to, you know?
Sure. Absolutely. That makes a lot more sense. And so obviously I'm going to go with the middle option. Option number 2, I invest my effort into things that others dismiss are unimportant.
Wow. I mean, that's cool that we all chose something different, but not because we wanted to, but just because that's what best aligned with us.
Yeah, it forced us to narrow us down a little bit. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so we have a similar type of question as the question before. This time it's asking us, how are you most likely to contribute to a joint undertaking? Our options are, I don't want to take on a leadership role, but I adhere to guidelines and usual standards as far as possible. Option number 2, I like assuming a leading role. In doing so, I adhere to guidelines and usual standards as far as possible. Option number 3, I lead the way for others by pursuing my own ideas. I tend to adopt a creative attitude towards guidelines and standards.
I think for both Steph and I don't want to speak for you, but I think it was the bottom one we both chose almost always, right?
Yeah, it's just hard because it's like
you pick what you want. Yeah,
it's just like I feel like the adopting your own way, but I also I don't know, it's hard because I'm kind of stuck between the middle one and the second and the last one. But I like assuming a leadership, but I also like leading the others depending on the situation. I feel like that's part of my issue because I'm like, I could do both, but if possible, probably the creative one.
Okay, that's fair. I like that it's forcing us to choose. I know we kind of already said that, but it's like, no. There's no in between.
Yeah, I'm going to go with I lead the way for others by pursuing my own ideas. That's what I'm going to go with. Final answer.
Okay, good.
That's what I'm going with too.
All right, that's fair. And so I'm the last to answer. And I believe once we hit the answer to this question, it'll give us our results. Is that what happened?
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
Okay,
yep.
I just want to double check. Listeners and watchers, if I didn't already say this earlier in the podcast, this Enneagram test was specifically shorter than almost all the other tests that I found. So if you were to try and take this test yourself and you're like, wait a minute, I took this test and there was 100 questions. Yes, that one is probably more accurate, but there's no way that we could answer another questionnaire with 100 questions on it. So
yeah, I mean, we're already at the 45-minute mark with 8 questions.
Exactly. So if you want a more detailed one, go do those. But if you want a short one, go to Enneastar.com and you'll find it here. And so without further ado, I'm going to click option number 1 and we'll see our results.
Okay, will the link be in the bio or will the link be down in the description, I think
it's pretty obvious, but if you want to add it, that's fine.
I think for the YouTube video, if you're watching,
that's
link in the description down below. And while you're down there, why don't you like and subscribe? Leave a comment.
Do that. Yes, and ring the bell. That's important.
Ring the bell, whatever the YouTubers say.
And what about our our dear Spotify listeners and Apple
for our
Podcast
Spotify listeners, why don't you guys skibbity riz yourself to
my.
I think you can give us 5 stars on Spotify.
You sure can.
I think you can actually comment on Spotify and just share it and listen to it daily 24/7. So
yeah, let's get us higher up in those rankings. So that
people are comparing us to, I don't know, God, but it is what it is. His podcast is pretty big, you know.
Yeah, probably number 1 or 2, depending on who you ask.
I couldn't honestly think of a podcast. Hold on. Sorry.
Okay.
All right, Lorissa, let's see your results.
Yes, what is my results? Woohoo!
Whoa,
I've completed
100%.
the test. Interesting. That's definitely different than what I thought it was going to be. So as you can see, it broke us down into our different types based off of each percentage of how we answered the question based off of how that personality type would have answered the question. I know that sounded a little long-winded. If Sam or Steph think there's a better way of explaining that, please go ahead.
No, I think so. I mean, mine's broken down in different percentages, but my number one isn't 100%. It's 92%.
Interesting. All right. So I'll go with my test results first, and then we can go with Steph and then Sam. Does that sound fair to you guys?
Sounds good.
All right. So my top results is 100%. I'm an observer, which is an Enneagram type 5. And so my second most likely personality type. So other tests, like I said, with the wing, they might have called me a 5-wing 9. And that's the mediator. I was 75% a mediator. I was also 75% a perfectionist.
Yeah.
Which
checks out.
We thought I was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I was 67% an individualist, 67% skeptic, 50% doer, 42% fighter. That's interesting to me that that's above the next type, which is I'm also 42% of a helper. And then last but not least, 33% optimist.
There is grass on the other side. You're just not sure what it is.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I have to make sure that it's not a desert and there's no actually sand there.
Gotta observe it first, yeah.
All right. And so I'm going to go read the observer type personality just to understand myself a little bit better. Some adjectives that describe it are thinker, researcher, analyst, eager to learn, superior, which sounds a little condescending to me, but whatever. Respectful. I like to keep secrets safe. I have an appreciation of simplicity. I'm reliable and ascetic. Based off of just quick glance reading, I renounce words and feelings. I respect the personality of others, but I want my own to be respected. I give space to people by withdrawing. What do I like to do best? Reading, researching, observing, collecting. I'm an idealist when it comes to knowledge. I'm objective, thrifty, and unbiased. I am less committed to a team that does sober expertise and professional competence. That's extremely true. I can delve into and bury myself into a topic. 10 hours into a deep dive for sure. I am a keen observer and a good listener. Am I a good listener, guys? You can tell me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I suffer from inner loneliness and long for deep and empathetic relationships. At the same time, demarcation and predictability are very important to me, which makes relationships difficult. AKA anxious attachment, if you're familiar with attachment theory in psychology. And the last sentence it said was unforeseen challenges that require spontaneous actions stress me. That's true. I like to plan everything out to a T. So do you guys think this is accurate?
Yeah, it's kind of like a more test-based, the star charts. What are those called?
Oh, astrology?
Astrology, yeah.
Yeah, they're all basically the same. Like if it reads out, it feels good to you, then it's true to you. But who knows if you could qualitatively study the actual benefits of it.
All right, Steph, speedrun.
Okay. I got 100% fighter.
Oh!
Whoa!
You're a fighter! I love that for you.
I'm just going to do the top 3. 100% fighter, 75% doer, 75% individualist. And I'll say my least one is skeptic, 33%.
That's funny.
Interesting.
Just glancing through the fighter, I read through the description and I'm like, a lot of it I vibe with.
Sure.
Some of it I don't. So that's cool.
That's fair. What are the adjectives? You could just read those just to give our...
The adjectives: challenger, leader type, protector, strong, determined, assertive, protects others, righteous, truthful, clear, and direct.
I guess that's true. To the
So I'm
point.
like, some, but not
Yeah.
quite. It's like,
That's fair. Doesn't resonate with you.
Yeah, it's like I could see it as like my professional self with
That's
teaching.
Fair. Okay.
That I understand, but as a whole self, not necessarily.
That's true. All right, Sam.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm the only one that nailed it right. I got 92% optimist.
Hey!
No,
That was
100%.
Not 100%, no.
Wow, okay.
75% fighter and 67% helper. I think I'm the exact opposite like line of Larissa's because my lowest one was observer.
Interesting. Opposites attract, right?
I guess so. So optimist, Enneagram type 7, enthusiast, epicure, adventurer, versatile, generalist, visionary, planner. And there's some other ones. And then at the very bottom it says, I suffer from the fact that I often don't finish the plans I have tracked down in favor of new ideas and therefore hurry ahead with my own goals. However, I like to suppress this fact by my ability to whitewash. I have a tendency towards superficiality. But I do bring joy and good mood to a group.
You sure do.
So, I mean, yeah, everything I'm reading here checks out.
Okay.
I'm pretty happy with it. So, yeah, I mean, I don't see it. I think it was overall fairly well done. You know, Steph's a fighter. I think we all knew that from the very beginning.
We sure did.
Big fighter Steph.
That's so funny.
Pretty good.
All
good
right.
job choosing this topic,
Yeah,
Lorissa.
no problem. I hope you also enjoyed this as well, dear listeners. If you didn't, don't let me know. I'm kidding. Let us know.
Yeah, let us know in the comments down below.
And yeah, if you want to follow us individually, you can start following Steph at Spiffy Steffi. You can follow Sam at Sir Captain Sam. And you can follow me on Larissa.Schaefer. And you can also follow our social medias for the podcast at Shifting Tones Pod. Shifting Tones Pod.
Yeah, it's close enough. Yeah.
I was like, when did we add the dot?
Merch coming soon.
No.
Patreon coming soon. You know, all that good stuff.
No. You're so silly, Sam. You like to think creatively.
That's what we
and
call him,
respect that.
Silly Sam.
Yep.
Silly Sam and Stinky Steffi.
No.
Lucky Larissa.
I like that I'm lucky. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
All right. So without further ado, bye.
Bye.